Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
One day to training camp, and hours before the Happy Valley Hoopsters play in Houston tonight. That's on Fox Sports 1 tonight. That's at 7 o'clock. So I'm looking forward to watching that. And then there's Steven Nedorosik. There are a lot of Olympians playing. You see the men's volleyball. Penn State's got 3 of them out there for men's volleyball. I'm informing you because you only watch badminton.
Well, I'll tell you. Those are intense games.
Didn't Snoop Dogg do that?
I think. Yeah, that's. I didn't even fully know the rules. I remember we had to take
rules. It's bad.
Exactly.
Back and forth. It hits the ground. It's over.
Hits the ground. It's over. Exactly. I didn't know how many sets it went or any of that kind of stuff. But now I know. I've fully learned after watching the Paris Olympics. But we actually had to take. When I was in college, we had to take that. I had to take a sport was court sports, and that was part of court sports. I have some. I guess I could technically say.
So in college,
some. Yeah.
In college.
Yeah.
On your road to getting a degree, you took badminton.
I did take badminton. Yeah, I took some other classes that were a little tougher, but yeah, I did take badminton on the road to the degree. I'm trying to think if I might even taken another sport, and I probably did. I think we needed 2 or 3.
All right, so Steven Nedorosik, after he won his first national championship at Penn State, I sat down to do an interview with him for TV because on the Penn State football story, my role on that was to do features on other sports. Well, he won the national championship, so I sat down to do an interview with him, and we did a feature on him. And then, after he won the world championship in 2021, he joined me at the field at Toft Trees for the Penn State Coaches Show and did the opening half hour with him at the field. So he is a really interesting guy in so many ways. And you saw early on in the routine, there's something called the Russian flop. When he nails that, which he did, the rest of the routine he is going to sail through. And he nailed it. And then after that, the speed with which he does the routine is remarkable. Here's a guy that was not recruited at all coming out of high school. He had no offers. So he was taking his video and sending it to coaches. And he sent a video to Randy Jepson. And one thing about Randy has always, it's been a tradition here, whether it was Gene Whetstone or Carl Shire or now Randy Jepson, of valuing somebody who had a specific skill, the individual event, and the specialist. So Randy said, okay. So he liked what he saw on the video, and he'd been a junior national champion, but again, he's one event. So he didn't get any offers. So he comes out to Penn State, and I think at one point he kind of came into town a couple of days early, I guess, to kind of check it out himself, because Randy said he looked at some social media post, and he's like, Randy's looking at it thinking, God, it looks like our parking garage. Right? That looks like our squirrels. Right?
There's plenty of both on campus. Well, parking garage might or might not be operating, but plenty of squirrels. Yeah.
So he offers him. And Steven ended up winning 2 national titles. He won another one after we had done the interview with him. And lost his senior year because of COVID. Goes for the Olympics in 21 in Tokyo and fell and did not make the Olympics in 21. But then later in 21, He wins the world championship. Thus, that's the second interview I did with him at the field at Toftree when we had him on the Penn State Coaches Show. His ability, for anybody who's gone to the eye doctor and they dilate your eyes, that's not a fun feeling. You're like, okay, what the heck? Well, that's the condition he has all the time. Yeah. He has permanent dilation in his eyes. Thus, he wears the glasses. I think he did the Today Show this morning. He had the sunglasses on. Rubik's Cube? Really? You're still working on your first one.
No, I was going to say, forget about that. Yeah, I gave up on those.
10 seconds or less.
Man.
The day of the event, he did it in 9.3 seconds. Unbelievable. Electrical engineering major. Worcester, Massachusetts. Or as I would say there, Worcester.
Worcester.
I was just in Worcester 2 weeks ago.
Grandmother lived there. My grandmother, when she was alive at the time, lived there for a short time.
It's actually the second largest city in New England. People don't realize that. Boston, of course, being first. People think it's Providence or Hartford. Nope, it's Worcester. And look, he's 25 now. He wins the world championship at 21. To be honest with you, you look at what he's done the last 2 years, he's actually been up and down. And then he gets to this, and when you are a specialist, your routine based on draw could be first in terms of the rotations, or it could be last. Well, it turned out this one, he was last. Pommel Horse was the last of the 6 up for the U.S. last night. So he had to wait all night to get to his point. But he's used to that. When you're a specialist, you're used to this. And then he goes out there and he puts together, a 14.866 or some number like that. And again, once he gets the Russian flop done early and he nails it, you see the speed with which he does it. And he says he doesn't need his glasses to do it because he just does it by feel. And I'm thrilled for him. To be honest with you, he is a fun guy. He's a fun guy. I mean, when I've talked to him, he's been a fun guy to talk to. Great attitude, and I'm thrilled for him. And for the U.S., that's their first bronze. That's their first medal in gymnastics, men's gymnastics, in 16 years. The women team competition is today. It is this afternoon. So there you are. The U.S. women's basketball team won big. Coco Gauff lost today in tennis. And yeah. So that's where we are. But the women's gymnastics team will go today. I think that is this afternoon. I want to say 3 o'clock maybe?
Yeah, just.
And this is the team championship here. This is the team championship. So Jordan Childs and Jade Carey and Suni Lee and Simone Biles.
Yeah, it's actually artistic all around, 12:15.
Also, 12:15.
Yeah, that's the artistic all around, and then after that is, looks like afternoon.
There you go. Katie Ledecky has another chance in the women's 1500 freestyle. Qualified for that. She has a bronze medal so far, which in my neighborhood means you finished third. You get a medal for finishing third. And a lot of times you finish third, you're like, this really stinks.
What was the Wasn't it a gymnast several years ago with Michaela Maroney or whatever, where she had to smirk kind of when she was getting the silver medal? Like,
yeah, yeah, it's great. Yeah. So let's see. USA Japan was at 12:30. U.S. won that big, right? They won that big. I think so. Triathlon, I guess they had to postpone that because they couldn't use the river because the Seine is just a biological mess.
Oh, jeez. I'm telling you. More reason to put a strong bid in to host the Olympics.
I mean, I understand what they're trying to do with all this.
So do I. But
I mean, I do understand what they're trying to do. Yeah, women's team final 12-15. It's the balance beam followed by the floor uneven bars vault. And yeah. Oh, team handball, women's group B, France versus Brazil.
That's what I'll be locked in on.
All right, here we go. Men's soccer. All right, Fine Religion, USA, Guinea. Really? I mean, well, I'm sorry. You no offense. I don't care if it's the national sport of the country. We've got 335 million people here. You've got to beat them. We've got to have 20 of them out of 335 million. We got to have 20 really good players, don't we?
That was my argument for so many years at my alma mater, thinking, man, we have 315 in a graduating class. We don't have at least 10 to 12.
Come on, man. Yep. God, win a couple games. At least win a couple games. I'm not even saying medal.
No, that's not.
Get out of the group. Yeah. Get out of the pool. Okay, let's go. I mean, I don't have high standards here.
I always get a kick out of when they call Christian Pulisic Captain America. I'm thinking, do I want that title in soccer?
He's a Pennsylvania kid.
He is.
He's a PA kid. All right. And then the baseball trade deadlines today.
Yeah.
The Pirates made 2 deals. They got Jalen Beeks from the Rockies, left-handed. He'll come out of the bullpen. When Beeks was with the Red Sox, I didn't like him. But then when he went to Tampa Bay, I felt like Tampa Bay did a great job with him, and Beeks has become a better pitcher. They also got Nick York from the Red Sox for Quinn Priester. York, I will say this about York, at every level, and he was a first-round pick, at every level in the Red Sox organization he hit. And he's hitting .310 right now, I think, with AAA Worcester. But every level, Nick York's been able to hit. He's not the greatest fielder. He's played some left field, and in the infield, he really is limited to just playing second base. He doesn't quite have the arm to really play anywhere else. In the field, he's okay, but he's limited to second base, and he can also play left field. But he can hit. I mean, there's no doubt. He hits with some power, but, you know, this guy, every level, hits. Priester is an interesting player in that he's another first-round guy that he came up to the Pirates, and he had some good outings, and he's got a great fastball. The problem he has is that he tends too often to throw some pitches down the middle. And that's an issue. Look, I'm all people who listen to me do the Spikes broadcast, I talk all the time about guys nibbling and not challenging hitters. Just attack them. You know, like I did a game at Williamsport on Sunday, and the 8 and 9 hitters had been combined 4 for 36 coming into the game. The 8 and 9 hitters. Well, one guy got hit by a pitch, and the next guy got walked. Now, why are you hitting and walking those two guys? Right? If they beat you, they beat you. Make them beat you. Now, there are a couple of other guys in that lineup, like, I don't really want to lay it over the middle of the plate. And that's been Priester's issue, is that he has a tendency, despite having really good stuff, to lay balls over the center of the plate too often. And that's one of the reasons why he's had some struggles. And so each one ends up with a talented player. The Pirates get a talented player. The Red Sox get a talented player, but each one gets a talented player that has a couple of issues to overcome. And Priester may end up being like a 6th starter for the Red Sox or something like that. York would probably, should he go from Indianapolis up, would be a guy that would be a good bat, but would be a bat probably down in the lineup. And again, Nick York can hit. In the field, it's a different proposition for him, especially his arm. But that's who they got. Let's see. The Braves got Solar back. Jorge Solar. And along with Luke Jackson from the Giants, that's fine. There's no. I always love that blockbuster. I saw this blockbuster 3-team trade. Like blockbuster 3 trade. It's not a blockbuster, right? If Vladdy Guerrero Jr. got traded, that's a blockbuster.
Yeah.
Okay, but Tommy had a couple former Spikes moved. Tommy Edman moved from the Cardinals to the Dodgers.
Where he was normally initially.
So Tommy Edman, former Spike, moved from the Cardinals to the Dodgers. I think he solves their shortstop issue. But he's hurt. He's not playing. And then Carson Kelly, who played third base here with the Spikes and really liked him when he was here. Then they converted him to catcher. He was dealt by the Tigers to the Rangers. So the idea of him playing up at Williamsport when the Tigers play the Yankees. Ugh. And then there's the Yankees have hit a gear here, and they beat the Phillies. Mm-hmm. And Aaron Judge had another monster night. He's got 39 home runs. He had 2 home runs last night. But again, look, you don't want to be known just as the great regular season hitter.
Absolutely.
Right? He is so far to this point has been one of those guys, Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, people like that, where in the postseason you sit there and go,
yeah.
Right? And Aaron Judge has not been a good postseason player.
No. And the first 2 guys you named redeemed themselves their final postseason. You look at 0-2, I thought Bonds was exceptional against the
Right, in
Angels,
2009, A-Rod did too.
And A-Rod in 2009 against Phillies, absolutely.
Right.
And,
but I get to the bottom of the ninth inning.
Yeah.
Right? Bottom of the ninth inning, I've got like one at-bat. I've got a guy on. I got to win the game.
Yeah.
Do I choose between David Ortiz or Aaron Judge?
Not even close.
I'm sorry.
Not even close.
Hey, 99, take a seat.
Yeah, not even close.
I don't want you hitting here.
Right.
I want him hitting here.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, not even close.
Right.
And you can't say at this point that he doesn't have protection in the lineup. Obviously, Stanton couldn't stay healthy, but you get Soto, which I really thought was a good move.
But Soto hits in front of him.
Exactly. Soto hits in front of him. I thought that move to me was I knew it was going to be a good move, and it's paid off. There's no question. The other part of it is I think you're going to see the guys that are struggling wake up a little bit now that the Yankees have made moves at the deadline. That's Steinbrenner used to.
Chisholm, that's a good pickup.
Chisholm's a great pickup. I think for what they gave up for him, I think that's a great pickup. But you need guys like LeMahieu to step up.
Even says he'll play third if they need him.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's the kind of teammate you want. The guy's willing to go out and do things.
No doubt about it. And that's, he's also going to see postseason baseball. He saw it last year for a brief cup of coffee, but that was it. He's going to see it with the Yankees. And now I think the guys that are struggling, you just feel like can turn the corner at some point. I think Verdugo obviously has the experience in the postseason. I think LeMahieu's another one. I do think Gleyber Torres off the bench is going to be okay. I don't think he's an everyday starter.
LeMahieu, the bat's slow now.
Yeah, the bat's slow. Torres
is too much of an enigma.
Yeah.
You see the talent.
That's where
it flashes.
That's why I think he's
there
got to be off the bench.
You're just confused.
Yeah.
Verdugo is a gutty guy.
Yeah, I think he's a guy you can use in the postseason.
But you're not going in saying...
No, you're not going in saying you fear them the most. No, not even close. But I think they are guys that can produce enough that you can play them in the postseason. And I think that's the biggest part of it. That was the concern. You talked about LeMahieu. Yeah, the bat is slow completely right now. He's a guy that's got to...
And he won a batting championship in each league. He won a batting championship with Colorado, and he won a batting championship with the Yankees.
Yeah.
So
he's a massive pickup for them. There's no doubt when he was just sent to New York.
So, yeah, that's... And the Phillies get Estevez in the deal with the Angels last week. So
and Hayes. I thought the Phillies...
They did fine.
Absolutely. They did not have to really go all out. And look, they're slumping right now. So does every team. I think that's...
it's 162
games. Yeah, exactly. You're a team where... You're a team where you'd rather be slumping now than October. There's no question about that. And Braves have pretty much said anything you can do, I can do better than the Phillies right now. They're struggling mightily. Yeah. And the Mets obviously have turned the corner, and they're playing real well, but might be too little too late for them.
Right. In terms of winning the division, not getting to the playoffs.
Wild card, they can get there. Yeah.
They can get to the, they can do that.
Yeah, I think the NL wild card is going to be interesting. It's going to be pretty wide open here down the stretch.
Well, that's why this trade deadline this afternoon is interesting. And it was the first question I asked Bob Nightingale when we had him on the show last week. And I said, Bob, because of the expanded playoff, more teams are at least in the neighborhood of contention. What has that done to buyers and sellers? And he said, well, it's really reduced the number of sellers. Right? I mean, the pool of sellers is smaller now.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's where people look around and go, hey, I got to make a couple moves. I mean, like the White Sox have lost 15 in a row. I mean,
I can never figure the White Sox out. The talent they had for so many years.
Well, imagine Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham is playing for the White Sox going,
he gets traded to second in the division.
And now he gets traded to the Cardinals. He's like, so he goes back to St. Louis.
Yeah.
And he's like, really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I remember.
Thank you so much.
I remember Jose Abreu at first base with the Astros. Tim Anderson's on first with him saying, "Get me out of here!" Thinking, my goodness,
we gotta get out of this.
It's unbelievable, and that team just, and you can't really. I don't know if you fully blame management either. I think the talent just was there; it just didn't produce.
I mean, remember they had that game? They played the Field of Dreams game against the Yankees, and the White Sox were pretty good then.
At that point.
It's not that far back.
Anderson was a batting champion.
Tim Anderson homered in that game, and the
Luis Robert was good at one point.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
And it's unbelievable.
They changed managers. That was obviously the problem.
Clearly, there's nothing to it.
For example,
you go from being contenders in the Central, at least in one of the weakest divisions in baseball at that time, and being now dead last in a big way.
Everything is. Oh well.
I think there were better White Sox teams than the one that won the World Series. I think in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
They just fell to teams that were real good. Even back to '93, I thought they were a great team. Blue Jays just were better. '92, I guess it was.
Yeah. It's even when they won the title in 2005, the White Sox.
Yeah, the sweep.
Right. It still felt like it was the Cubs' town.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they ran that, aside from the god-awful call in the Angels.
They ran everybody out.
Absolutely. They swept the Red Sox.
Swept the Red
Sox.
Beat the
Angels in 5.
Right? Beat the Angels in 5.
Astros in 4.
Right. I mean, Paul Konerko, all those guys.
Creedy was unbelievably good. Then
Mark Burley.
Petsednik was a great leadoff hitter.
Mark Burley. Yeah. A.J. Brzezinski.
Was a good veteran. Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Now, them not giving Ozzie Guillen being bitter and not giving Frank Thomas a ring, I thought was a terrible move to this day. I think Frank Thomas goes down to me as one of the top 5 White Sox of all time. That was a terrible move. But other than that, that team had a lot around it.
Right. Yep. Well, so there we go. There's the baseball trade deadline. And again, what will Toronto do?
Yeah,
that's
I think that's a big part of it.
They're the domino in all of this. You notice the Rays have kind of sold off their team.
Yeah.
Wherever they can. What will Toronto do?
Yeah.
And Toronto's the one that, because they do have big names. Let's go back to what you said about the White Sox.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the White Sox a few years ago were talented.
Mm-hmm. Incredibly talented.
I mean, you're not the best judge of it, but I'm kidding. I'm joking. Right?
Well, they're good
right?
talent.
As you said, the White Sox were a talented team, and that they kept a lot of that together, and they haven't developed. Well, the Jays are like that. They've already dealt Biggio. Biggio got dealt to the Dodgers last month. But what do you do with Bichette? I think they'll keep him. What do you do with Vladimir Guerrero Jr.?
I mean, he's the guy that
who's
probably
begging to go to the Yankees.
Yeah.
He's begging to go to the Yankees. But,
do you think the Pirates will probably still go after Diaz? I think that's a good chance getting a good infielder there. It's a veteran.
Sure.
So I think they're going to be. I think the Yankees are liable to be in the mix for him too. But the Blue Jays are going to be, and I think that's the interesting one. Talent-wise, pure talent, I think Bichette's the guy that you'd ideally love them to move. I don't think they're going to.
Right.
But it just hasn't. Very similar. You talked about it. Similar to White Sox. The talent there just didn't pan out.
The guy I'd ask about would be Kevin Gausman.
Absolutely. Yeah, Gausman, absolutely.
I'd throw it out there. Just say, hey, can we talk about him?
Yep. Vlad Jr. obviously is a hitter. I think there's no question about that.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, they're the ones where the word blockbuster would be used.
Yeah.
Because of the names that might be available to move. There's not going to be any blockbuster. There's going to be trades where you're upgrading and making yourself, you think, better. Like, Justin Turner goes to the Mariners. They needed more offense. Yeah. Randy Arozarena went there. I know he's been slumping with Tampa Bay. He's actually off to a good start with the Mariners.
Yeah, I think he fits.
Because Rodriguez has been on the IL and has not had a great year.
Julio's had about a year and a half where he's not played well.
And that's one of the problems that the game has.
Yeah,
you'll get young guys like that. They have too many young guys.
Mm-hmm. The thing the Mariners were able to do, they noticed that they gave up on talent quick, but they also judged talent pretty well. They gave up on Kyle Lewis pretty quickly. It was the right move. And obviously he was Rookie of the Year, and after that he just fizzled.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll see what they do with it. I mean, because Houston's been so hot, they caught him.
Yep.
I mean, Houston started out 12-24.
Yeah, they were 10 games back, maybe a month and a half ago.
Yeah. Yep.
The Pirates came back to beat them last night. That was a good win for the Buccos.
Yeah, it was. Great one. And Paul Skeens started, went 6 innings, 2 runs, I think.
Yeah.
Not bad.
No, he's been he's absolutely been the real deal this year. Pitched exceptional. You can't ask for more. There's not been one game where you look at and say, hey, Skeens didn't win us that game.
This is a game I've looked at where he walked off the mound when he was done, and I thought, well, okay, he didn't have it tonight. There's none of those games. Not one of those games.
He gets that run support. His team is in the game every night he pitches.
Every game he's walked off the mound, and I said, well, he had a good night.
Yeah.
I mean, every game.
Every game, yep.
Like, he's been
incredible.
To his credit, he's been terrific.
The night he takes the loss, he's still in the 9th inning, giving up a second run.
Right.
So it's literally, that's just been incredible.
And you watch how he uses his legs when he pitches. You want to keep pitchers away from arm trouble. Mm-hmm. Watch how they use their legs.
Yep. Nolan Ryan was notorious for that. Yeah. Always been notorious
He uses his legs really, really well.
Yep. That was That was the Nolan Ryan special for many years. He knew a thing or two. 7 no-hitters. I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, so training camp starts tomorrow. And we went through everybody yesterday. I left one guy out yesterday. I forgot to mention J.B. Nelson.
Oh, yeah.
And because, look, he can play guard or tackle.
He can play both positions. Yeah,
and he has started. I mean, he has started for them.
Sure.
And so I inadvertently left him out. And that's one of those you're trying to go think of your head through the spring. Because JB didn't do a lot of work in the spring. So I apologize for leaving JB out. It was just like last year when I did this. I remember doing this last year, and the two guys. It's amazing you remember things like this. I did this last year, and I was running through, and I missed mentioning Caden Saunders and Zane Durant. You know, it's just one of those you're spewing out names. Ding, 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 ding,
was a very deep defense.
But I'm just saying. But I'm saying though.
Yeah.
I'm going through it like, okay, this guy. What do I mention? 60, 70 names, right? And I inadvertently, and then people are like, "Did something happen to him?" Like, no, nothing happened to them. It's just, it's like in the line of fire of trying to do a whole bunch of names. I just inadvertently missed them. That was a year ago. Now I got them both in this time. But J.B. Nelson's the one I missed this time. That's okay. So, but yeah, that's.
Yeah, I think obviously same questions. I think going into this year, I think wide receiver is going to be another question. I think you made the point yesterday that I think was a good one. Wallace can stay healthy.
Well,
they're just a different receiving core with him.
They are different when he's out there.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
And here's the other part. It's not like I don't see some really good stuff from the wide receivers in practice.
Yeah.
It needs to translate consistently into games.
Absolutely.
I'm not as concerned about it as some people because I know what they're capable of.
Absolutely.
And that's I
think they'll get the chance too this year. You're not going to have. I think Fleming can be a clear-cut number one, but you're not going to have that guy that's going to be that clear-cut guy that is going to be the number one, and everybody else is. But I think that ended up being the case a little bit last year. I thought with Lambert Smith. Now you're not going to really have that. I think Fleming, is going to be exceptional. He's going to get that chance now. Fleming's been behind so much incredible talent, so many first-round picks at Ohio State. Now he's going to have the chance to shine, and he's going to have his opportunity too. And Saunders, same thing. I think he's going to have the chance a lot more.
I mean, Saunders is a year older now.
Agreed.
Right, his first year, look, to be honest with you, he wasn't in the greatest of shape when he came in the first year.
Yeah, when you're coming. Yeah.
Okay, and now he understands what it takes to be at this level. I like him. I think he's a really good player. He's going to be in the mix again as the punt returner. We'll see what they decide to do with punt return, but he's going to be a guy that gets a look because he's done it before. But Liam Clifford, Wallace.
Yeah.
I mean, quarterbacks love a guy like Clifford. He makes plays. He catches the ball.
Yeah.
Fleming.
Reliable.
And then we'll see if anybody else emerges in that group. And Amari Evans, Jack and I always talk about, the ability to take the top off. Well, Evans can take the top off.
Absolutely.
So can Harrison Wallace. They can take the top off. And they've got a quarterback that can get them the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. In any possible way.
Yep. I mean, and
takes care of the ball.
Remember with Drew Aller, quite simply, it's this. He's going into his second year as the starter.
Yeah.
I know it's his third year in the program, but it's now his second year as the starter.
Absolutely.
So now he has seen game speed across the board. Right? And now he can react to game speed across the board because he has the additional experience.
Sure.
And it makes a huge difference as to how you play the game because now you at least have a gauge on game speed around you. And you're in a new offense that I think allows him to even have better management of game speed because of how this offense runs. And you have running backs that are incredibly talented. And both running backs now I consider to be reliable receivers. That's an area where Nicholas Singleton really kicked it into another gear last year. He became a better receiver. They're both good blockers. They both are exceptional running backs, and they're both good receivers out of the backfield. Now, Quentin Martin is another guy that has really good hands and would be another really good receiver out of the backfield. Cam Wallace, I think is capable of doing it. I just want to see more.
Yeah.
I just want to see more from Cam.
And last year showed they're going to get that opportunity. I mean, Potts certainly got opportunity last year, took advantage of it in a big way. So I think that's very clear that these guys are going to get opportunity. There's no doubt.
So that's a big plus. And it always helps a quarterback when you've got tight ends that can catch.
Yeah.
Well, they've got that. They've got that. So let's see how the next 2.5 weeks plays out. The next 2.5 weeks will be important because at the end of 2.5 weeks, right? Let's see. 2.5 weeks. Yeah, 2.5 weeks. That'd be about the point where you then will make some decisions about who's on the travel squad and then who's on the developmental squad. It doesn't mean you can't go from developmental up. It doesn't mean. I've seen guys suddenly move from developmental up onto the travel squad many times. They're constantly evaluating. But you want to at least come out of camp with a pretty good gauge of where your top 60 players happen to be. All right? And then the other competition that's going to be interesting is going to be the place kicking competition. I mean, you feel good about where they are with punter. You feel really good about where they are with kickoff. But then there's the place kicking part. 3 talented guys. Chase Meyer, the transfer from Tulsa. Ryan Barker, who walked on. And then Sanders Sahadic. And Barker and Sahadic, both left-footed kickers. And then there's Meyer. And Sahadic is the kind of guy, big leg, and gets the ball up in the air fast. Right? He gets it up in the air in a hurry. Barker got off to a good start last year and did a good job all season last year in practice. And then I thought had a really good, going from good to really good spring. And then Meyer, there's been some adjustments for him. I mean, he'd been the kickoff guy at Penn, then he was the field goal guy at Tulsa, and now he's, now he's back here. And he's going to be in the mix because he's made, I think he was 17 to 20 last year. Something like that. So you're 17 to 20, you're going to get a long look. That's where they start. And men's basketball, the summer session's winding down for them. It'll wind down next week is when it'll finally wind down for them. And they're going to practice today, and Mike has something planned for them tomorrow. So, it's been a very productive summer for them. I have probably gone to, 20 to 25 practices this summer. watching them work. The level of competition is a lot higher than last year. The camaraderie on the floor is way better than last year. The level of basketball skill is better than last year. And it's deeper than last year. Right out of the gate. We'll get into more of this as time goes, but this is a team I really like. And I will tell you, without question, the guy that has been the best player every day has been Ace. Ace has put in a lot of time. I'll go by the gym and nothing's going on. Ace is out there. He's put in a lot of extra time. And he said to me last week, he said, the Jason Lord guy's not still around, is he? Jeez, I said Ace. I mean,
that was the deciding factor for him staying. The rumor was I left town, and he was wrong, but that's all right.
He said to me, he says, Steve, I wish the season would start now. That's what he said to me. I wish the season would start now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt.
He is loving life and loving playing basketball.
Yeah, and
he's on track. And he's on track to graduate this summer.
Absolutely,
he's on track to graduate this summer.
Yeah, we can improve, and the unbelievable part, there's room for improvement on what was already an exceptional first year, where
got off to a slow start.
Yeah, got off to a slow start. But then,
Ace got off to a slow start.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into all the reasons why, or the reason why. So I'm not going to get into that.
Sure.
But he has been everything.
Yep.
Down the stretch last season. And in this offseason, he's been everything Mike could ask him to be. Yeah. And so I'm looking forward to it. And I'll get into some other guys as time goes, but because I can say a lot of good things about everybody I've seen out there. It doesn't mean every once in a while you don't have a day that you go, okay, well, right? Or especially with the kids, not even with just the kids, but like kids, maybe a transfer or two, when you're trying to teach how you play certain situations, right? You have to do a level of teaching as opposed to the veterans who have been there before. I'll give you one other guy who's had just an exceptional summer, and it's big plus, and that's Puff Johnson. Puff last year, in the offseason was kind of battling a couple things. In the preseason, he battled it. He didn't really get back out on the court till the end of training camp. Not this summer. Not this summer. Puff's been really good. It makes a big difference, but they've got some guys on this team that can play. And the Big Ten is interesting. The Big Ten has a series of good teams. But I'll be blunt with you. I don't see a single yet great team. I think there's some people that think like Indiana could be great. I don't know. I want to see it. I think the Big Ten has good teams. And they have a series of good teams. Now, you also have some mystery out there. Well, the mystery is going to be, how does Eric Musselman fit in what he's doing with USC right away? What happens with Danny Sprinkle? He's changed over the entire roster at Washington. Did Dana Altman add enough because they lost some in the offseason from a team that made a good run? UCLA has 6 transfers in there. Well, how do the 6 transfers fit in? They call them the Quick Fix 6. Okay, that's what they call them. Wisconsin's lost people. A.J. Storr transferred out, right, after a year. Okay. Northwestern doesn't have WOWY anymore. Illinois thinks they're a top 10 team. over here in the back, really? I mean, the mask, right, did a great job for them. And it may not be a natural point guard, but did a great job running forward for them. He's gone. Dane Danger's gone. Shannon was drafted in the NBA. Coleman Hawkins transferred to Kansas State. You're telling me you're better? And Goody transferred as well. He went from Illinois to Indiana. You're telling me you're better? Michigan with Dusty May should be better. But how much better, I don't know. Now, a big plus for May is that Vlad Golden, who had been at Florida Atlantic with him, and I watched him play twice last year in person down in Orlando. I was impressed by him. Like, he's a good player. He transferred to Michigan with him. But after that, kind of a guessing game with them. Michigan State's good, but I'm not so sure they're great. I mean, they've had to change their backcourt. Tyson Walker's out of eligibility, and A.J. Hoggard transferred out. It may have been encouraged to. Yeah. Rutgers has the two phenoms, right? Two of the top recruits in the country. Okay, we'll see what kind of difference it makes for them. With one of them being a point guard. I mean, Harper's, that's big. That's big point guard.
Absolutely.
I mean, was he 6'7"?
6, yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's like, holy mackerel. It's Ron Harper's son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just like his old man. He was the same thing. Same way. This guy was.
But you don't know. I don't really know. Like, I mean, Maryland's kind of a mixed bag. Minnesota, I mean, Dawson Garcia stayed. Mitchell stayed, but everybody else left. Payne gave this big speech after the Big Ten tournament about how they need to keep everybody together, and then he transferred. Right? Hawkins was a good point guard for them. He transferred after just 1 year. Like, okay. Wisconsin, right? They've lost a lot of guys. Hepburn transferred out. Wald's out of eligibility. Esigian transferred to Nebraska. They still have Stephen Crowell, the big kid. But see, the league has had such turnover. Now, Purdue, the only guy they're missing is Edey. That's a big miss.
No doubt.
Right? But the backcourt of Lawyer and Smith should be better. They're into their third year. They're good players. They should be better as a backcourt. And this is where Kaufman-Wren, it's a big plus because you saw in the NCAA tournament last year, Kaufman-Wren gave a good account of himself in the NCAA tournament. And he's a big guy that can move. And so Purdue's they're going to be really good again. You know? Are they going to be great? I don't think they'll be great, but they'll be really good. Edey made them great. I think now they've become really good. So it's hard to tell. And with Nebraska, I don't know. He changes that roster over so often. You just never know how good they are.
Yeah.
You just don't know. You have to actually see them actually play games to figure out how good they are because you don't know. I mean, Tominaga's gone. But Rink Mass, for example, stayed. Like, okay. He stayed. I think Jawan Gray stayed too. And then Rink Mass stayed. But they had, I'm trying to think, I think Williams in the backcourt stayed too. But they've lost a lot of guys. I mean, Welcher left. Tominaga left. Yeah. And then Iowa, I didn't mention Iowa. Sandiford's back. That really helps. But who's going to run the offense? Perkins transferred out. Freeman's a really good big man, by the way. He's going to be a sophomore. He's a good player. And he is a very good player. But I just don't know how all the parts in the Big Ten in the basketball fit. Ohio State has a chance to be really good. Mm-hmm. Got the transfer from Kentucky in the middle came in. Thornton who's their point guard. You know how much I like him. I think he's a tough, hard nose. Can play. He's got a Big Ten body. He can absorb contact, make plays, has a good shot. I like Thornton a lot. But they've also lost guys. Right? Roddy Gale's gone. Opara, the center, gone. Now he's been replaced by the kid from Kentucky. But Ohio State has some talent. They're pretty good. But I can't really get a gauge on the league. I look at it and I keep thinking about it. I think have I hit everybody? I think I hit everybody, didn't I? Yeah, I got everybody. There's 18 of them. Mm-hmm. They're good. Yeah. The league is good.
Absolutely.
But I don't think the league is great.
Right.
It's good, not great. And that's where they are. I'll be watching some of the women's gymnastics this afternoon. You're going to be watching badminton again?
No, I think I'll probably be tuned into the gymnastics. Probably. That badminton just happened to be the sport that was on the 2 times I turned it on at night.
So you're the one that registered.
Other than that, I've seen 2 quarters of the men's basketball game.
Yeah, I didn't watch any. The only part I did watch the Neda Rosick performance last night. I did see that, which was fun. It's always fun when somebody you know is up there.
Yeah, sure.
That's cool. And then he turned in the ultra clutch performance there. The women's volleyball team today for the U.S. did lose to China in 5. Lost the first 2, and then that was it. So, yeah. And then Coco Gauff lost.
Mm-hmm.
It was a controversial call. I know you're surprised. Is there any official out there that likes you? I mean, you point out all their faults.
I'll tell you, they usually run when they see me coming up to the booth. They're like, Yeah.
Well, that's not exactly an uncommon occurrence in several areas. America loves you. You know that.
I hope so.
Let me ask you something. In high school football, are they allowed to do 2-a-days?
I believe so. They used to be able to. I think they're still able to do certain stuff, but not like they used to.
Right. No, I know it's always been bad. It's down to 1 scrimmage now, not 2.
Yep. Now 1 scrimmage, yep. They're starting the season earlier.
Yeah.
Well, obviously earlier, last 5 years now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think with the expanded playoff in college football, you might see week 0 become week 1.
Very well. Could.
Because I think it might be important, especially if, with coast-to-coast conferences like the Big Ten and to some extent the ACC, I think you need to consider 2 bye weeks. And if you have an expanded playoff, I think 2 bye weeks would be important. I know the NFL is 1 bye week. I could see the NFL going to 2 bye weeks if they go to 18 games.
I do too.
But with the expanded playoff, I could see a reasonable compromise being 2 bye weeks. Now, this year it has 2 bye weeks because of the Labor Day to Thanksgiving calendar.
Yeah.
The 14 weeks between Labor Day and Thanksgiving. That's why you have 2 bye weeks, because of the calendar, not because it's something that was mandated.
I think from a high school perspective, the one thing they've got to do is figure out a way a little bit to structure the playoffs a little bit better. I think you're seeing teams that are...
that's been one of my biggest complaints. The road to the championship game is so long.
It's very long, and it's longer for a lot of other teams too. Yeah, and look, State High has benefited from it too. They've always so often had that bye week.
But this is where it has to start. Let's start with something simple. I know I don't want to run over here, but let's start with something simple. You need to be 500 or better to be in the postseason
100%
in your
agree.
district.
Absolutely could not agree more.
I've seen teams that are like, hey,
1-9 and they participate.
we're 3-7. Like, your season's done.
Yeah.
Right? And I see this in District 4 all the time. Like, there'll be one category where they have 8 schools in it. Well, 8 schools don't deserve to be in it.
Yep. I could not agree
8
more.
schools did not earn a playoff spot.
Absolutely.
Like, move on. Hey, you got to make this a faster process along the way. Because if you have 8 schools in there, that's 3 games you got to play to win the district. Really?
A lot of schools rightfully have that as their policy, where you got to be 500 or better.
That's not every school.
No, it's not.
There are a lot of schools.
I've seen teams go 1-9 and go to the playoffs.
We're going to play. Like, no, you're not going to play.
Yep.
Guess what? You did not earn the right to play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you'd won like 3 or 4 more games, which, by the way, is a big number, then yes.
Yeah.
No, I mean that policy that has to be a universal policy across the board.
Absolutely,
it has to be. You need to have a 500 record or better to be in the playoff.
I agree.
If you're not, thank you for participating. We will see you next year.
Yep.
Thank you for participating. We'll see you Thursday.